It's Monday night, and you know what that means. Jersey First TV probably brings to you the latest edition of Real Talk. And yes, I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, Top 50 Latino, as voted on by the Latino Spirit Online magazine. Certainly the weapon of mass disruption in Garden State media, without a doubt, the people's choice and the people's voice. And folks, the most handsome face that runs the place. Yes, it's me, Fernando Uribe. Happy Monday to you all on a special 7 p.m. start time here on the East Coast. I want to thank you all for tuning in from wherever and however you may be doing so tonight on Facebook Live via StreamYard, and of course, also on the Jersey First YouTube page, as well as on Twitter and LinkedIn. Folks, always remember to check out all of our great social media at Jersey First TV. Make sure you like us on Facebook, of course, like Jersey First, as well as Real Talk with Fernando Uribe. Don't forget to click the subscribe button on the Jersey First YouTube page, and certainly wherever you get your podcasts on Spotify or SoundCloud, download Jersey First and take it with you all throughout these summer months, whether maybe you're driving down on a Monday to go to Tiki Bar in the sweltering heat, maybe you're visiting your in-laws, old roommates during the summer, maybe you're taking a sightseeing tour to New York City, wherever it is, folks. I'm sure you have your smartphone with you or a tablet or whatever it is. Download it from any PC, Mac, smartphone, or tablet. Take it with you and enjoy Jersey First all summer long. And folks, I cannot say enough how proud I am to be on the dream team of Garden State Media. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is Jersey First and Jersey First TV. Brand new episodes of The Nader Narrative with the incredible Elizabeth Nader premiere every Thursday via jerseyfirst.org/TV. And also brand new episodes of Bridging the Gap with AJ Malilo and Stephen Rombolo also premiere on Thursdays. And last but not least, folks, brand new episodes air every Monday night, whether at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. Again, check your programming and check your social media listings, of course, for brand new episodes every Monday night of Real Talk with Fernando Uribe. Folks, you definitely want to stick around for the end of the show. During Final Thoughts, I'm going to have a lot to say about Jay Lassiter, Insider NJ, and the 2023 edition of their LGBTQ Power List. Folks, there's a lot to dissect, and quite frankly, I take great pleasure in dissecting what I think is probably one of the more questionable power lists in the state, with some very questionable people that are ranked on it. But I'll talk about that later in the show, folks. You definitely want to stick around for that. But first, it is election season, and certainly, ladies and gentlemen, listen, no one's doing it better than yours truly here during this election season in the state of New Jersey. I'm interviewing candidates, incumbents, journalists, and everyone associated with New Jersey politics, of course, coming up on November the 7th. You decide, folks. You decide whether or not to flip the state legislature, both chambers in the House and the state Senate, obviously state assembly as well, as we know, to make it as red as my jacket, folks. Your opportunity is coming on Tuesday, November the 7th. Up here in Hudson County, certainly, folks, it's as blue as Windex, but it's not stopping people from running for assembly seats, especially as a Republican. And my guest tonight, I think, is going to talk about that and much more, folks. She is the Republican candidate for the state assembly in the 31st legislative district. She's a big fan of the show, apparently, and I'm happy to hear her obviously come on here today. Fellow Latina, obviously proud Hispanic, folks. Angelique Marina Diaz joins us here on Real Talk. Angelique, how are you?
Hey, doctor. Fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Again, I want to thank you all for obviously joining us here. And folks, again, if you just joined us, click that share button. Sharing is caring. All it takes is 2 seconds to support arguably one of the better shows, if not the best show in New Jersey media, Real Talk with Fernando Uribe. Now, Angelique, again, just a special programming note for our audience here. After redistricting, the 31st legislative district did take on a new look. Yep. As in previous years, it would encompass pretty much the south side of Jersey City, along with the west side and the city of Bayonne. That's no longer the case. It still includes the peninsula city of Bayonne, but obviously only now the south side of Jersey City, as well as the cities of Kearney and Harrison, a very different makeup now in the 31st legislative district. Now, let me just start off by really asking you here, what makes your background really applicable to run for one of the assembly seats in the 31st legislative district?
Well, I have spent my entire life in corporate America. I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm also a local real estate agent. So as far as demographic is concerned, I am an expert here in Hudson County. I am qualified to run because I have spent my entire life budgeting and really advocating and team working with these corporations, these Fortune 500 corporations throughout the tri-state area. And I'm also a parent. So I have been here the majority of my life. I transplanted here from New York City, from Brooklyn to be exact, when I was in elementary school. So I have been bred in Bayonne. So I'm definitely a Jersey girl through and through. So I do not represent anything but Jersey, and especially Hudson County. And then raising my family here, I feel that, you know, someone needs to step up. All I hear is complaints and crybabies all through the county about how leadership is, you know, handling business here. And why not step into the role of state assembly and handle business, but a businesswoman that has been bred in this county?
Now, Angelique, listen, as someone who ran for state assembly back in 2011 in Hudson County, I mean, listen, it's as blue as Windex here. It's a tough place to campaign, especially when, you know, we're seeing such an overly, you know, big representation of registered Democrats. Now, let me preface this by saying that, I mean, thankfully, it's not like across the river in New York, right, where, let's say, the Puerto Rican princess, AOC, is as clueless economically as she is anything else, but she's like a hardcore sort of leftist, progressive Democrat. That's not really the case here in Hudson County. It seems to be more sort of blue-collar, working-class Democrats, which is what makes up most of the electorate. You know, how do you find campaigning thus far when, again, you're running as a Republican? It's hard to, you know, flip a seat in Hudson County because, again, I think the last time that a Republican won an assembly seat, coincidentally, it was the county chair, Jose Arango, back in the mid to late 80s when Tom Keene was governor. So that's a long, long time ago. What are you seeing in the sense of when you're knocking on doors and talking to people at food festivals or summer events, again, during this campaign season?
Yeah, well, Jose's my man. So I'm going to give kudos to Jose. Love Jose Arango. So I think I want to correct the statement of as blue as Windex. So Hudson County has voted Democratic for many decades, and it is hard to flip that. But the individuals that live here, like you stated, also are not truly Democratic. So I will state this, that the majority of the individuals that I speak with are Republican. I am running as a Republican because I am a Republican, and I'm not fearful of any backlash that I'll get because of, you know, the seat that I'm running for. The individuals here, let's say police officers, firefighters, you know, a lot of people have their bread and butter tied to the local politics, okay? And I would never ask someone to potentially risk, you know, their well-being of their family and how they feed their children, of course. So I don't need anyone to advocate for me and have a parade or have signs if you don't want to. But I really truly feel that they haven't had a representative run for them that, you know, has the same values as they do, and is not afraid to say that they're Republican and go against the machine and the Democratic machine. And I truly feel that a lot of Democrats that are sitting in their seats right now are really Republican, but they don't have the audacity, or, you know, they've all been neutered and they just don't have the mitigated gall to sit there and stand for their beliefs because they knew that, you know, they wouldn't have the funding that they would have if they sat down and truly spoke their feelings. So as far as, you know, Hudson County being Democratic, I would say a lot of it is, but a lot of it is not. And I think that if I step up and, you know, and I'm shaking hands and kissing babies and going to festivals and advocating for myself and my fellow colleagues that are sitting on the Republican ticket, I truly feel that they'll have, you know, a swing on the red side, because blue is depressing, let me tell you, and red is right. So I'm going to go down to Trenton to fight the good fight, you know, and represent the party in Hudson County in District 31, which is the forgotten district of Hudson County. Right. And we could get into that, but I definitely am going to represent them through and through without any, you know, revocations.
Now, the 31st Legislative District not only underwent, again, redistricting, and certainly the layout of the district changed, but to some extent also the leadership, because for many years, for example, at the top of the ticket, we had State Senator Sandra Cunningham running for many different cycles. And again, I've interviewed the senator on multiple occasions. She's always been a stand-up lady to me. I certainly wish her well in her retirement. Obviously, we know she's been having some issues with her health. So again, for a speedy recovery to Senator Cunningham. She's been a great public servant. I haven't always agreed with her, if ever, on some policies, maybe on some, you know, marijuana reform and things of that nature. But by and large, you know, Senator Cunningham has always leaned very left. Now her successor, obviously,
McKnight.
Angela McKnight, is, I think, trying to sort of follow suit in the same manner. But what's always concerned me about Angela, I think, is, and listen, I've known Angela for many years. I'm talking about going back to knowing her pre, politician days when she was running her nonprofit Angela Cares. And I've always known her to be someone who's very committed to the community. So I don't knock Angela for that. What's bothered me, though, over the years that Angela's been in the assembly, for example, has been her voting record. And her voting record has concerned me, whether it's voting to give illegals driver's licenses in New Jersey, whether to give tuition, in-state tuition reimbursement to illegals, the idea of, again, just many far left-leaning policies that Angela's embraced. And now, obviously, she's at the top of the ticket now as a state Senate candidate. And it would seem that her running mates, Will Sampson out of Bayonne, and the Jersey City Democratic chairwoman, Barbara Stamato, again, not a bad word to say about Barbara. Like her, I'm going to be talking to her later this fall on the show. But it just seems that, like, this particular ticket coming up it's diverse, but I think it's also kind of perpetuating sort of the same bad behavior we've seen in Trenton, though. Is that fair to say?
I absolutely agree. Number one, I think that you cannot run for office and be a puppet or a parrot, okay? I think the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So this community and this county and this state needs to start thinking on a red ticket. I think that if you look at the voting history for McKnight and, Mr. Sampson, you would see that all they do is say yes, 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 yes. And they bow down and they take it and they say nothing. There is no fight, in their arms. So I think, no one has anything to say about Miss D'Amato. I think she's probably a kind woman, and everyone that I've spoken with has truly good things to say about her. But I think she is a sweet woman, and I think she's a pussycat. And I don't think you need to send pussycats to Trenton to fight for you. I think you need to send lionesses like myself, where, you're going to fight for, prosperity for the people. And you're not going to say yes like Sampson and McKnight has done. And I think what the Democrats here in this district, in District 31, need to really go to, this individual sitting in their seats and say, what have you done for me lately, honestly? And they've been in leadership for quite some time. And District 31 is the forgotten district. Ocean Avenue in Greenville, Jersey City, looks exactly the same, while Jersey City Heights has, soared. Downtown Jersey City has soared.
Yeah,
and
right.
District 31, not so much. So you tell me if you want those individuals going back and sitting in their seats and to do exactly nothing, for another 5-10 years. I don't think so. And that's not for me. And as far as the remapping of the district, there definitely are more brown people that need to be represented. And I will tell you this, and individuals don't come to the United States to come and, reculture themselves. They want to keep their ethics. They want to keep their culture. They want to keep their, families intact. They don't want their children to be sexualized and demonized and learn about sex in kindergarten. They come here for capitalism, and prosperity is the key. So if you want to send a longshoreman, a construction worker down to Trenton and fight for you and state budgets and tell the governor don't spend $250,000 decorating your house, then you do that. But I don't think that's going to work in anyone's favor, to be very honest. And Ms. D'Amato has been the aide for several decades to many other leaderships in this Hudson County and the Democratic Party. But, helping people doesn't mean that you could lead people. So I think that is the major difference between myself and everyone else on the Democratic ticket. And, being that there are some brown people on the Democratic ticket, they haven't really done anything, for their people. So,
folks, it's 7:14 here on the East Coast. If you just joined us live, click the share button. Sharing is caring here. My guest tonight is the Republican candidate for the state assembly, one of the assembly seats in the new 31st legislative district, all the way down in South Hudson County. She is Angelique Marina Diaz, joining us here tonight on Real Talk. Angelique, you brought up some points there about really like Ocean Avenue, and it's funny because I always like to, I'm not malicious about it, but you're right about Ocean Avenue and MLK Drive. It's a dump. I mean, never mind driving at night. I don't want to be there during the daytime. It's a dump. I think it's also an indictment, I think, of, the way Jersey City has been governed at a municipal level. But I think also, legislatively, you're hoping that, the legislative caucus, like the legislative leadership, would look at problematic areas in the district for revitalization. And it's not just, oh, well, let's let developers come in and, buy up land and build condos. Like, you couldn't give away a condo to me in Ocean Avenue or any, the place is a dump. And I know I get accused of, oh, that's Fernando dog whistling. And it's not dog whistling, it's a dump. And I know some people choose willingly, I don't know why, to live in some of those really bad areas. But I think it's also an indictment to what you said about how the legislative leadership looks at these parts of the district and are not addressing them, are not, trying to get more funding for more parks and recreation, or the idea of making the roads, or maybe even advocating for, guess what, maybe expanding the light rail, right? I get the light rail goes through, the west side, goes all the way into Bayonne, but it could still have more stops. And for whatever reason, it just seems like, again, I don't want to seem malicious against her because she's a friend of mine, but like Angela McKnight, who was in the assembly for some years now and is now transitioned to the state Senate, her successors seem to be perpetuating the same, as you said, sort of going along. It's like seals at the circus. It's like they see fish and and they're not being, I think, responsive to the district. Is that fair to say?
I absolutely agree with you. One, I think there's individuals that want to live in non-developed areas for the appreciation of the real estate. Just as real estate agent, I know that for sure. And then there's other individuals that I'd be representing that have no other choice, just financially. But they need to look at their mayor who wants to go to Trenton and run the state. And, you need to go and protest in front of his office and ask him why he's spending millions of dollars on an art museum when they can spend millions of dollars in revitalizing these areas for these, underrepresented people. And these underrepresented people have people that look like them in their seats. So, you can't tell me that having someone that looks like you should not benefit you, because representation means a lot. And if you have that and you're still struggling and, your area has not grown, that means that they're just there for the paycheck. They're not there to actually serve the people. Yeah. And, no disrespect to anyone. And I respect everyone that has, a seat and an elected official. And they're clearly my neighbors. Mr. Sampson's children and my children play on the same football team. I mean, we all live in the same town. So it's just that they need to do more. And I think that when they get elected, they sit on that Democratic ticket and they ride the wave and they ride the coattails of, the other individuals that are, at a higher seat. So I'm not here to ride coattails, and I'm not here to, get on my knees and perform services for anybody at all. I'm here to represent the people, speak my mind, and no one's going to tell me any difference. And I think my people will definitely prosper. And I'm not just speaking about brown people, I'm speaking about everybody in District 31, because there's no one that is going to bully me. And I'm not going to sit there like a seal and say, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. No, thank you. I'm going to question you, and I'm going to understand that because I have the background fiscally, right? And also, geographically to do the job.
Angelique, I've spent the better part of the last few months interviewing legislative candidates all throughout New Jersey. If you watch the show, I know you're very busy, but I've interviewed candidates from all the way South Jersey to Central to Northwest, Southwest, Southeast, whatever. And again, we can make the case that we know what the Democratic leadership does poorly in Trenton. We know the emperor, who miraculously grew a whole bunch of hair and over the weekend, basically, right, who thinks he's presidential material, God help me, as well as State Senate President Nick Scutari, to Assembly Speaker Craig Coughlin. I mean, the Democratic leadership have enabled the emperor with these outrageous budgets, with spending that would, I mean, if they ran their households like this, they'd be on the street, okay? Like, you wouldn't teach your kid in college or graduating out of college to spend like this, okay? But it seems like we know what the Democratic leadership does poorly in Trenton. And in a cycle like right now where the economy is still not great for a lot of working class people, where gas prices are still on the rise, food prices are still expensive, it's expensive to travel, it's expensive to eat out, there's a plethora of things that Democrats do poorly on a national level, but also in Trenton. And if there's ever a cycle between this year and 2025 where we can flip some seats as red as my jacket, I would argue that it's this year. There's a lot of competitive seats in Central and South Jersey. And I think that, even in Northern Jersey as well, do you feel confident that in the 31st, that this is a competitive district where perhaps you're looking to flip a seat as red as your top and my jacket?
Yeah, I think it is competitive. I think that I need to ensure that the citizens of this district understand that it is okay to vote Republican, and that you're going to have prosperity, because prosperity is the reason why everyone comes here. Okay, and I think that those individuals need to understand. Understanding fiscal responsibility is very important. And then you've had some people on your podcast that have said, oh, budget isn't really important. Transgender issues aren't really important. No one really cares about those things, but they do care about those things because people are struggling and they have no money. And I don't think that they understand that there's going to be no jobs pretty soon. Artificial intelligence is here. I think government is very slow. And being that the Democrats don't understand how to budget, everyone's job, there's a lot of jobs that are going to be taken because of artificial intelligence. Yeah. And we need to kind of get into that and have government run faster. Okay. And look locally, and you have to come through me to get any funding. And look locally and look at the inefficiencies of every city hall here in District 31. I swore the last time I went to City Hall, I heard someone on a typewriter. Why they don't have an iPad? I have no idea. But that's where our money is going. And that's where you need to really understand, that you need someone in Trenton that understands what they're doing and knows what to do and how to fight and what bills to pass. So that's what my job is for the entire course of the summer and, first half of the fall through November, is just knocking on doors and ensuring that everyone understands that, their values and then their money matters to me. And it matters to the people on the Republican ticket. So
I mean, that's scary. I mean, what are we, a metropolis? Like, is Clark Kent typing on a typewriter at the Daily Planet? I mean, what?
I'm telling you,
is going on here. I mean, my God, folks, it's 7:22 here on the East Coast. If you just joined us live, click that share button because sharing is caring here. My guest tonight is a Republican candidate for the state assembly in the 31st legislative district. Her name is Angelique Marina Diaz, joining us here tonight live on Real Talk. And, Angelique, it's interesting because very much I think that this climate, we started in 2021 where Republicans made some gains in the assembly. Obviously, they were able to dethrone a longtime incumbent in the state Senate with Steve Sweeney. We saw that in South Jersey. Obviously, in 2023, I think Republicans have a chance to make some gains. I'm not sure, maybe flip both chambers this year, but come close to shaving down those majorities because, quite frankly, what we've seen for a better part of over 20 years, Democrats have had a solid majority in both the state assembly and the state Senate. That's been dwindling, though. And I think that, public opinion polling, we're seeing that what a piss poor job the governor's doing. And thank God that Governor Murphy's gone in 2025 and not a minute sooner, as far as I'm concerned, for me. But I think also we're seeing that the leadership in Trenton also is just not, I think, adhering to good fiscal policies. I'm sort of looking at my notes here, and New Jersey has the highest property taxes in the nation, not the region, not the North Atlantic. I'm talking about in the nation at an average of about $9,112. That's madness. Where I live up here in northern Hudson County in the 33rd, I drive up, maybe 10 minutes north along River Road into Bergen County, and I go into Fort Lee and some of those towns in Bergen County. We're talking about Alpine, Dumont, Closter, Cresco. We're talking about $12,000, $13,000, maybe $14,000. I go a little bit south into Union County, for example, into like Short Hills. We're talking about $24,000. At least, the luck I have, and I think also too, the blessing I have is that my mayor is also my state senator here in the 33rd legislative district. And, State Senator Stack, I think, has done a better job than anybody really in Northern Jersey or anywhere in the state Senate about trying to at least, advocate for fiscal responsibility. It's falling on deaf ears because the leadership in Trenton isn't listening to Senator Stack. Obviously, we've seen property taxes remain pretty stable here in Union City. And I think what he advocates for is fiscal responsibility. That's not the case, I think, in all the legislative districts. And it seems like in the 31st, that's been pervasive for quite some time.
Yeah, property taxes are absolutely absurd. And I wouldn't mind paying them if I got what I felt my money was worth. And
Yeah.
like I said before, if we have these inefficiencies in city halls, and this is City Hall in Jersey City, in Bayonne, in Kearney, so on, if we get rid of those inefficiencies, I think that our property tax dollars could be allocated to, things like education. And actually, I wouldn't mind paying even more if I had the education system that Alpine had, or if I had the education system like Livingston, but we don't. So someone needs to really be auditing these books and really holding, their local politicians accountable for what they're doing with the dollars that are coming out of these citizens' pockets. Because these citizens are getting sued. My town has gotten sued twice, buco bucks the last couple of years here in Bayonne. And who pays for that? The taxpayers do. And, Jersey City, ridiculous. You couldn't give away land in downtown Jersey City, 15 years ago. And now, property taxes are $50,000 for a townhouse. That is absurd, okay, for individuals to be paying. And then you have the school district that doesn't, really tie into that. And, I think those individuals really need to be held accountable. And that's why I'm going to Trenton.
Angelique, let me ask you this, because one of the biggest topics that's come up in really, for years now, but we're seeing it front and center, is a discussion of Liberty State Park. And certainly, I'll be talking to Bob Hurley coming up in September. I know that he's part of the People's Park Foundation. I know he's been in the news cycle. I know local news sites like the Hudson County Chronicles, the Hudson County View, both very reputable news organizations have been covering this story in depth, as well as Hudson TV. Also, the Jersey City Times. Shout out to Aaron Morrill, a fan of the show, a good friend of mine here, a fellow journalist. But I think that, people get very emotional about what Liberty State Park means. It is a state park. So the notion of, what can be done at a local level? Nothing. It's a state park. I mean, it's something that really at the state level has to be handled within the legislative, leadership and everything else. What would you, again, should you win on November the 7th and begin your term in January of 2024, what would you want to advocate for in Trenton as it pertains to Liberty State Park? What do you want to see happen with that enormous piece of land there?
Okay. Number one, I'm never going to put a bird in front of people. Okay. So that park has plenty of space for opportunity. And what I mean by opportunity is opportunity for employment, opportunity for recreation, opportunity for individuals not to leave. I don't have to drive, 30 miles to have some entertainment. I mean, I think that land needs to be utilized and not kind of given to the animals. I'm not an animal hater and I would never hurt any animal, but I think that we need to put the people and the children in this district and in this state first. And those individuals, especially the underrepresented, need to have a space for football and concerts. And if you want to throw a frisbee, there's plenty of land for a frisbee and a concert. Okay. So don't tell me that we cannot have football fields and soccer fields where children can have opportunity to get off of the streets and move on and get opportunity to have a career in something.
Let me ask you this, Angelique. I'm with you. I very much would like to see recreation programs expanding into Liberty State Park within a certain piece of land. I think where some people grow concerned, and listen, I'm someone who likes to go, it's summer concert season, whether it's down to PNC Bank Arts Center down the shore or going across the river to open air stadiums or, small ball fields to watch summer concerts or whatever. I think there's a portion of the population in Jersey City and Bayonne that are concerned about, do we need like a 10,000 seat performing arts center? Do we need an amphitheater? And I think people get concerned about congestion. We know what congestion's like going into Jersey City. I mean, listen, not to be facetious or malicious, but there's a reason when people say on the turnpike, hey, 14A, stay away, right? It's like, or going into Jersey City, and no harm, no foul, folks. Again, don't get triggered out there, folks. I know people get offended about anything these days, but there's that issue about congestion, whether or not this would add to congestion, whether it would add to pollution. All these issues are topics that get discussed a lot about as it pertains to Liberty State Park. Again, in your capacity, should you be able to win on November the 7th and be one of the legislators in Trenton, what do you want to be emphatic about when it comes to these organizations that are kind of front and center right now, not pushing an agenda, but a narrative about what Liberty State Park should be?
hmm Well, I'm gonna just give you a little bit of a little bit of information. If it's from Bayonne, leave it alone. That's the true old
There you
statement.
go. Okay,
Okay.
very nice.
Okay.
I like that one. I
Um,
like that. I like that one.
yeah, I mean, and listen, for those individuals that are concerned about pollution and congestion, FYI, there's already congestion. It's not going away.
Yeah.
So, having the amphitheater or having a football stadium, and I'm not talking about, a huge MetLife stadium built there. I'm just speaking of something where the performing arts can actually go and have a space, outdoors, and the citizens can enjoy their time outdoors. And then it brings in more jobs. What restaurants will do better, food trucks will do better. Everybody will do better. So the more jobs you bring in, the better for everyone. And then also for the children. Not every school, like we were talking about before, is allocated funds where those children have really good sports, facilities. And it's not fair that they get to, play soccer and football on rocks. Okay, so let's help them out a little bit and give them an opportunity to get college scholarships and things of that nature. So I would definitely advocate for that. And it's everything is temporary. So is all of the new construction and the development in Hudson County. That's already there. It's already unaffordable. So that ship has sailed. And I think that because it's unaffordable, we need to create more jobs. Create construction jobs and so on and so on. So, the domino effect of having development is positive.
Angela, let me ask you this, because whenever it's possible, and I take shots at everybody. I take shots at Democrats in Trenton, but what I also do very well is I take shots at Republicans also in Trenton, and more specifically, the NJGOP. And it just seems to me that the NJGOP, in a cycle where there are a lot of vulnerable Democrats in Trenton, okay, again, an economy that's not very strong, this idea that CNBC published this garbage article last week that New Jersey is still this great state to live in, that businesses are tripping over themselves to come here, is nonsense. Okay. Yes, the housing market is rising. That's not a good thing. You're in real estate. Unfortunately, it's pricing a lot of lifelong New Jerseyans out of the state. Let's go with that. So this idea that CNBC and some of these other economic websites that try to finagle this nonsense to me, I'm not buying it. Okay, I'm not an economist, even though I play one on TV. You don't need an MBA from Rutgers, my alma mater, to understand that economics in New Jersey are bad. And what's interesting to me is that the NJGOP, and again, I'm not saying this because it comes off as salty when I ran in 2011, but in a climate where Democrats are vulnerable in Trenton, a lot, especially long-term incumbent ones, like in Central and South Jersey, the NJGOP finds a way often to get to the goal line. Again, for all you sports fans at home, hopefully you'll get the terminology. You get to the goal line, you get stopped at the 1, or either you fumble the ball out of bounds or whatever. And it just seems like the NJGOP, number one, doesn't fund candidates the way they should. And they just seem to be complacent and content with, hey, let's just protect the seats that we have. Let's kind of help a little bit for these new candidates in Northern Jersey or Central and South Jersey. We'll do the bare minimum and we'll just try. And if we don't succeed, we'll try next cycle. I've been hearing this nonsense from Republicans, especially the NJGOP, for years now. And for the record, I don't care because I'm not looking for a job with the NJGOP. So the idea that, Fernando's, no, I'm going after them because they're just as much as fault as the irresponsible Democratic leadership in Trenton that makes the state unaffordable. Angelique, where am I wrong here?
You're not, but I think that depending on the candidate, I think you need to fight and advocate for yourself. Okay, I think you need to get on the horn. You need to promote yourself and go to every function and shake every hand that you can and build those relationships so that they trust in you to allocate those funds to you. Now, should we have done a better job in getting candidates out there and flipping these seats long ago? Yes, but also, I think individuals are scared. They don't want to sacrifice their anonymity. You're putting out there your family.
Sure. Yeah.
There's a lot that I'm giving up here in running for office, believe it or not. And I need to go and speak with the GOP and the leadership there and say, listen, this is why you should fund here in Hudson County. This is why it's a winnable district. And if you don't do that, then really the onus is not just on them, but also on you. So both parties need to be accountable for any, allocation of funds. That's number one. And number two, New Jersey is unaffordable, but I think that you need to get off your rear and work and get two jobs if you need to and understand what money is. And really, that's what a lot of things that I'm going to be teaching, young children and women and people of color is how, the economy works and how do you make money so that when inflation hits, you're not really sitting there waiting for a politician for a lifesaver. And that's where we're going to be. So.
And let me ask you this, because it's interesting. And, I talk about this all the time, where it just seems that we know what Democrats in the leadership in Trenton do poorly. We know that they spend irresponsibly. Taxes are suffocating us. But normally, that's not enough of a message. And again, in a state where Democrats outnumber registered Republicans by almost 1.5 million, we know that independents decide elections. And we know that it's about galvanizing and mobilizing and motivating independents to say, hey, come vote red this legislative cycle, where, again, at the top of the ticket on November 7th, there's no gubernatorial race, there's no U.S. Senate race, there's no House races, there's not even a presidential race. That's all next year, okay? At the top of the ticket this November 7th, and ballots statewide, are all 120 legislative seats. Yes, there are local municipal races, like in Hoboken, city council races. We see city council races, county commissioner races, board of education races. That's all well and good, but the legislative races are at the top of the ballot, and normally that's not very sexy. Unfortunately, I think for a lot of people in New Jersey, turnout tends to not be as good as possible. I would argue this is where Republicans statewide have to get hungry, and they have to be proactive. And again, help motivate independents to come vote for you. Listen, the only reason Chris Christie in 2000, irrespective of what we think about Chris Christie, who's a horrible candidate for president today in 2023, 14 years ago when he ran for governor, okay, that Chris Christie was able to galvanize independents and get them on his side, because he knows that, yeah, Republicans getting out to vote just isn't enough. It's got to be independents that come out and vote, and maybe disgruntled Democrats. Do you feel confident in your race that you can get enough disgruntled people who are lifelong registered Democrats to say, you know what, I'm just not happy with my representation in the 31st legislative district. I'm going to give Angelique Marina Diaz a shot. How confident are you about that messaging?
I'm confident in everything that I do. Number one, there is no doubt in my mind that I could convince someone that, the local politics are really important for them. All I have to do is show them their water bill, show them their property taxes, show them the crime rates. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke in anybody's, face. All right. There's not smoke and mirrors here. I just have to show them the facts and say, this is the people that are in leadership right now. And then in their tenure, look at what has happened to your finances. Number one, look at what's happening to your children. Number two, look at what's happening in Trenton. All I have to show them is the facts. And maybe, not everyone sits there on a daily basis like they do on Instagram and Facebook and look up, bills that are being passed and introduced. That's just not their thing. But it is my job to go to each independent and each Republican and each Democrat. So I'm not going to forget about the Democrats and thinking that they're just going to vote blue. I have to have conversations with them as well. And I'm going to have conversations with everyone and let them know that this is the betterment of their families, the sanctity of the families, the sanity of their children, and for generations to come. I think that they need to understand that New Jersey unemployment funds are insolvent. We have no money, Fernando. If there's another recession after this one, if there's another pandemic, or who knows, if there's another, Hurricane Sandy, we are in major trouble, okay? And we have no more money for unemployment funds. So if anyone goes out there and looks for funds from the state because they don't have a savings account, they are going to be in dire constraints. And I need to let everybody know that you need to send someone to Trenton that can budget, that can fight for them and their families.
Angela, before I let you go, obviously, and folks, it's 7:37 here on the East Coast. If you're just joining us live, click that share button. It takes you 2 seconds. Sharing is caring here with Jersey First TV. My guest tonight is a Republican candidate for the state assembly in the 31st legislative district. Angelique Marina Diaz joins us here live on Real Talk. Angelique, should you be successful on Tuesday, November the 7th, and you take office on January 1st in 2024, I know you've talked about some of the issues you want to tackle. What else would you like to tackle in your capacity as an assemblywoman in the new legislature?
I'm going to absolutely advocate for mental health capacities for, police officers and firefighters. I think no one really advocates for them and understands what they go through on a daily basis. I think that going into Trenton, we're going to, speak on budget costs and, the unaffordability, and really, advocate for funds that come into District 31. I think that teachers need to have a little bit more wiggle room. No one really advocates them from the Republican perspective, but that's really where I'm not going to give away all my cookies, because the Democrats always copy all the candidacy. So you tell them what they're going to do, they do it first because they're already in power. But definitely the people are going to see a change. And win, lose, or draw, Doctor, I will tell you this. If the Democrats come out victorious, which I don't think they will from the assembly perspective, but if they do, I'm going to make them earn that vote, and I'm going to make them sweat till they bleed. And it's not going to be just an easy, 1, 2, 3, let me ride the coattails of these other gentlemen that have been sitting in the seats. I'm going to make them earn that for sure.
Angelique, before I let you go, I mean, certainly we know campaigning takes dollars, takes time. How are you doing fundraising? What are some websites, or what are some platforms you're using to help with fundraise during this election season? And obviously, please let our audience know.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a fundraiser coming up. I will be promoting that on my Facebook. You can look me up, Angelique Marina Diaz. I'm on Instagram. I'm going to be on Threads pretty soon. I'm also on Twitter. You could also visit the Bayonne Republican Party on Facebook, Kearney Republican Party, and Jersey City Republicans also. So anywhere on social media platforms, you could reach out to Hudson County Republican Party candidates and any of them. If you want to reach out to me directly, you could email me at votefordiaz, the number 4, votefordiaz@gmail.com. And if there's any fundraising, we definitely will be promoting that within the next 30 days or so. So look out for them, and I'll definitely be distributing them, campaign ads on social media for sure.
Well, Angelique, I love your campaign. It's lively, it's different, it's refreshing. I think, especially, you said it perfectly, the forgotten district in northern Jersey really is the 31st legislative district. So I want to wish you the best of luck. Obviously, I think you've laid out a very articulate and compelling case as to, let's be honest, why maybe we need some new leadership in the 31st legislative district. I think you've made a good point. Folks, again, on November 7th, you have a choice. And certainly, when you go to the ballot box, and hopefully those electronic machines are working, because we all know how competent these machines are coming out of Trenton. But you made a compelling case. Again, folks, on November the 7th, you have choices, and vote accordingly, and know that obviously you have some options coming up on the ballot on Tuesday, November the 7th. Angelique, before I let you go, I want to thank you for your time. I know it's busy. You'd rather be knocking on doors right now than talking to me, but I appreciate your time. I appreciate you respecting this show and thinking so highly of it. So again, I want to thank you for your time. I'll give you the last word here tonight.
I want people to know that they have a voice in the Republican Party, that Republicans are not bigots. They're not racist. They're not just for money. We represent the people. You don't have to sacrifice, your ethics, your morals, and your culture in order to be part of America. The Republican Party represents conservatism. We represent you as a people that come here for capitalism, for prosperity. And that's what you need to be voting for come Election Day.
Well, she said it right there. Folks, she is Angelique Marina Diaz, Republican candidate for the State Assembly in the new 31st Legislative District, once again comprised of the south side of Jersey City, the city of Bayonne, along with the cities of Kearney and Harrison. She's our guest here tonight on Real Talk. Angelique, best of luck to you. And we'll talk to you later on during the campaign season this fall here on Jersey First TV. Don't forget to share the episode. And once again, I appreciate being a fan of Real Talk with Fernando Uribe. God bless you. And good luck out there on the campaign trail.
Thank you, Doctor. God bless you as well.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
You too.
Folks, good episode there with Angelique Marina Diaz. Obviously, listen, if you're looking to get involved with her campaign, please consider doing so. Certainly, I know how hard it is to run for a state assembly seat with little or no help from the New Jersey GOP. I know that firsthand. Nothing's really changed since 2011. I mean, they're pretty much almost as incompetent and inept as they were in 2011, almost probably the same in 2023. So best of luck to Angelique, Marina, Diaz, and really all Republican candidates this legislative cycle, especially the new candidates who normally don't get too much help from the apparatus at the state level concerning the New Jersey Republican Party. Folks, listen, don't go anywhere because you know what time it is. Yes, folks, it's time for final thoughts. And, I have to tell you that, in mid-July, I thought, well, June came and went. Thank the Lord. It's one of the more insufferable months of the year for me. And I figured, maybe we'll be spared this year from Insider NJ's, one of their many insufferable power lists that they tend to have every single year. And of course, I said, well, maybe we'll be spared from having to deal with the, LGBTQ power list this year. As you all know, it's compiled the last few years by the resident virtue signaler at Insider NJ. Yes, folks, it's the insufferable Jay Lassiter. And I was like, wow, it's like mid-July and I haven't seen it yet. What else is he doing with this time? Besides being at home and living off his boyfriend's income and smoking weed all day. So I said, maybe we'll be spared it. But to no one's surprise, last weekend, we did see Insider NJ provide the 2023 Insider NJ LGBTQ power list. And, folks, it's interesting because, when you read the beginning of the PDF, it's about 83 pages long. So again, if you want to save, toner on your printer and not waste paper, I would suggest you not print it out. But, you can look at it on your smartphone or tablet. And this is what's really interesting here. I really want to make you laugh here. And I'm going to try to be serious here because, folks, there's a lot of stuff in here that just makes you laugh. So Jay starts off by saying, what's it like to be LGBT in New Jersey politics in the year 2023? Short answer, it's not that great. Jay, you can't help yourself but just blatantly lie 2 sentences in, okay? When we all know, and I've said it before on Twitter, and I got some flack from, the other resident virtue signaler down in the city of Hoboken, their mayor, Robin Durbala, who felt it was wise to take me on Twitter, and that blew up in his face, as well as, the other clowns in Hoboken during Pride Month. But folks, here's the reality, okay? And people like Jay don't like to hear this because, again, it requires them to engage in a little critical thinking, which many of them don't have the capacity for, okay? And this is the thing, though, because this is what's really funny. When we talk about LGBT rights and being tolerant and being inclusive, folks, this is what it is, okay? Back in 1995, okay, when we talked about the LGBT community, really the gay movement, whatever, right? All we heard was love is love. We just want acceptance. All right, fair enough. Okay. Listen, there's a lot of reasons to dislike Fernando Uribe. Being straight isn't one of them. So I'm never going to know what it's like to be disliked because I'm a straight male. I get that. And then, of course, we move on into 2005, where the echo chamber was screaming, we just want equality. That's fair. Not a problem. I don't have an issue with that. I think we should be treating people fairly. But this is now the slippery slope that we're moving down towards. Okay? Because then, for example, in 2012, hey, you either bake a cake or we're going to court. See, little by little, we started seeing that level of intolerance, and you better do what we say or we're going to continue having hissy fits. To, for example, 2015, right? Where a common, acronym or talking point is, hey, you better use the right pronouns or say my pronouns or you're going to lose your job. Okay? To now in 2023 where, hey, kids have to watch drag shows and that's it. Okay? So this idea that Jay Lassiter is going to insult your intelligence and say, well, it's not that great to be LGBTQ in New Jersey. That's nonsense. It's utter nonsense. Jay, you're a privileged minority. You're probably the most privileged minority in the state of New Jersey. You are. Okay? And I get in trouble all the time for saying this, but it's the truth. Okay? And this is what infuriates me about Pride Month. It's gone from, hey, let's preach acceptance to now, hey, it's unequivocal affirmation. And if, God forbid, you don't go along with the program, we're going to call you a bigot. I'm going to call you a homophobe. We're going to call you a transphobe. See, folks, this is the slippery slope we're going towards. Because Jay's just as guilty as anybody. If you don't, go along with his way of thinking, and if you don't unequivocally support LGBTQ rights for any capacity or any reason, oh, that's it. Here comes the vitriol. Here comes the venom. Jay, you got it pretty good in New Jersey. The idea that being LGBTQ in New Jersey isn't great is a lie. Let's continue. In one corner, we've got New Jersey's long-dominant Democratic Party, which has a demonstrably better voting record on LGBT issues than the GOP, but is much of their support performative. Well, you know what? That's a fair point. But then again, the clock is right twice a day too. So let's not go off the deep end here and think that Jay has all of a sudden now become this oracle of wisdom. New Jersey Democrats spend the month of June spreading pride-themed rainbow memes online, but that barely masks their decade-long track record of treating gays like an ATM machine. Where are the LGBT chief of staffs in Trenton? Where is the bench of the, quote, next generation of LGBT candidates to run for office? Jay, again, chief of staff positions, listen, I can have an idea what they go, what it pertains to, what it consists of. Okay, they're not hiring all of LGBTQ staff, chief of staff. Listen, folks, the goal is to hire the best qualified person, whether they're black, white, brown, gay, lesbian, whatever. Okay, the idea that there's a fixation that there isn't enough LGBTQ representation, for example, chief of staff positions, Jay, again, they'll become available when they become available. Again, you bitching and moaning about it isn't going to make it any better. There are 0 Democrat LGBT state lawmakers serving alongside Republican Assemblyman Don Guardian, who alone comprises Trenton's lone LGBTQ representation. Trenton Councilwoman Jennifer Williams, a moderate Republican, is the only transgender lawmaker at the municipal level in the state's history. This is what's really rich here by Jay. And that gets me to the New Jersey Republican Party, which has an element that has been campaigning on crazy anti-LGBT sentiment for as long as I've been paying attention. When are you paying attention? You're high most of the time. Early on in the battle for marriage equality, Republican legislators voted no, mostly in lockstep, though the odds end well into the Christie era. Anyone watching a series of GOP lawmakers weaponize their faith and indeed their God against queer people remembers how rancorous the battle will become. No, Jay, again, and this is the problem with people like you. Okay, it's not about weaponizing your faith. I'm someone who's, grew up Catholic. I'm not the most religious person, but I'm Christian. I believe in Christ. I pray in my own way. And there are people that are much more devoted to their faith than me. Okay? So whether it's Christians, Orthodox Jews, Muslims, these are individuals that if they wish to evoke a religious, exception or evoke their faith, that's their right to do that. Again, Jay, put down the bong, which I know you live on, okay? But somewhere when you took a U.S. history course and somewhere when you read the Constitution, in the very first amendment, the framers and the founding fathers were very specific about the freedom of religion, the freedom to practice religion and how you choose forth. It's the reason we declared our independence from the monarchy of England. Okay? The freedom to practice religion how you wish. Now, am I someone that's going to evoke a religious argument about, hey, maybe why I don't care to celebrate Pride Month? That's not the case. But if someone's rationalization is deeply rooted in their religious beliefs, let them. They're not weaponizing anything. Now, you're an atheist. That's fine. You don't have to like a religion any more than anybody else does. But the idea that you're just going for the low-hanging fruit, that some people are just weaponizing their faith, that's total BS, and you know it. But again, it's easier for you to virtue signal with you and the rest of the Lollipop Guild, more on them later, okay, than to actually do some critical thinking. All right? There are echoes of that rancor in the current debate over trans issues and New Jersey's novel and innovative LGBTQ inclusive curriculum. If you're curious what the homophobic right wing stands for, just remember we're into the 3rd month of a collective meltdown because a beer company put a transgender person in a commercial. Again, Jay, Dylan Mulvaney is no more a woman than I have a full head of hair. Okay? And this idea that we have to sort of look at Dylan Mulvaney, who is so scared about his time right now living in the United States that he goes overseas to Peru and, by the way, pings his location on his cell phone and his social media. So he must not be that concerned. But again, go enable a clown and someone who's really mentally ill like Dylan Mulvaney. It's not about the idea about putting a transgender person on there. It's someone who's not mentally well, Jay. But again, you'd rather excuse bad behavior and a mental disorder because you just need to virtue signal, right? And that's pretty much, in italicized, the National Republican platform in 2023, alongside controlling the outcome of every pregnancy in America. No, Jay, again, and I've checked you on this multiple times. It's amazing to me for a guy like you in his mid to late 70s, all right? You must have smoked an enormous amount of marijuana to the point where now your brain cells are affected, okay? Did you read the Dobbs decision last summer? Did you read what the justices wrote in that decision? Again, spoiler alert, what they basically did was relegate the decision back to the states, okay? You live in New Jersey. As I've said before, if you're a woman who gets knocked up tomorrow and you want to reconsider your pregnancy, guess what? Here in New Jersey, there's plenty of clinics, unfortunately subsidized with taxpayer dollars, with Planned Parenthood, where you can get an abortion, okay? It's single girl summer. So for a lot of you ladies out there that are drinking irresponsibly Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, many probably that you know, Jay, okay, that guess what? You wake up Monday morning next to a guy you're not very happy waking up next to. Guess what? Go to a Walgreens, go to CVS, buy a Plan B. It's only $40. I know because I bought a few Plan Bs in my day, so I know how much they cost. All right? But that's what women have as an advantage here. Okay? What they have or don't have in Tennessee, Louisiana, that's not your problem, Jay. Just like people in Tennessee. I know plenty of people in Tennessee. I know people in Kentucky that look at me and say, how can you live in New Jersey? They enable illegals. They give them driver's licenses. They take taxpayer dollars out of the state budget and put it into a legal fund to help illegals fight deportation, subsidized by taxpayer dollars. Okay? They're not happy with it, but are they bitching and moaning about how poorly run New Jersey is? Probably not. So, Jay, again, if you're so concerned about controlling pregnancies and what states are doing that, please do us a favor. Please, I'll drive you to the airport. Okay? And we'll ship your sorry ass to, I don't know, Tennessee or Kentucky or Louisiana and go fight over there for women and pregnancies. Please take your scrawny ass down there and continue your bitching and moaning. But here in New Jersey, women have it very easy and have it very cozy and comfy here when it comes to pregnancies and their reproductive rights. So stop your bitching and moaning because it's, again, folks, one of the many reasons Jay Lasher is insufferable is because of the sanctimonious BS that he peddles all the time. Speaking of sanctimonious peddling and nonsense, let's get to Jay's power list, right? So, of course, he ranks pretty high. And again, let me just preface this by saying, too, that, again, Jay needs this education because many along Jay's side of the aisle and many in the Lollipop Guild, his enablers on social media, need this refresher. There are two sexes. This idea about gender identity and all this nonsense, I don't subscribe to that stuff. All right? It's just more nonsense, more woke nonsense that we've had to embrace unnecessarily. Folks, there are two sexes. Okay? If you have double X chromosomes, newsflash, you're a woman. That's how we define it. If you have XY chromosomes, you're a man, period. Gender dysphoria is a mental illness. It just is. It just is. Okay? So the idea of affirming a kid's confusion isn't compassion. It's cruelty. Okay? I've said it on social media, and I'll continue saying it. People like Jay Lasher don't want to hear this because, of course, it's easier for Jay to virtue signal with this nonsense than to do some critical thinking. Okay? And speaking of nonsense here, let's get to this LGBTQ power list. So, for example, he ranks up there Sean Latourette, talking about the New Jersey's Commissioner of Environmental Protection, the first out gay man to ever be confirmed to the governor's cabinet. Mr. Latourette has led the state through an environmental infrastructure renaissance while delivering a long overdue progress on issues of climate change and environmental justice, whatever the hell that means, Jay, which even you can't define, right? That has escaped past governors and their DEP commissioners. Yes, you know what, folks, instead of worrying about what pronouns Sean Latourette identifies as, maybe we should get on Sean to worry about why these wind turbines are killing whales. And we're seeing whales wash up on our Jersey shores, right? Why don't we think about that? Jay, why don't you put some pressure on Sean about that? And I get it. You live cozy in your little house in Cherry Hill, smoking weed all day. So maybe what happens down the shore doesn't affect you, but it affects thousands of New Jersey and seeing whales and dolphins wash up on our shores. So if anything Sean should worry about, hopefully it's not pronouns. It should be about the damage that these wind turbines are doing to New Jersey especially our coastal shorelines. Hopefully Sean will get off his ass and address that. Let's move on. Here, number 9, Franceline Errett, one of the most powerful and influential union leaders of the state. Franceline Errett is the New Jersey State Director of the Communication Workers of America. CWA represents more than 70,000 working families in the Garden State. Yes, folks, there's nothing more insufferable than a labor leader, than one of the more useless labor unions in New Jersey, like the CWA, which I've been a member of, right? And what have they done? They have just taken membership dues after membership dues for years and have just supported blindly Democratic nominees for governor, okay? Franceline isn't any different. Okay, the idea whether it's her or Hetty Rosenstein, who, well, it's 8 o'clock, it's way past her bedtime, so she's certainly not watching this show. She'll probably watch the replay if she's smart enough. Okay, but it's people like this. This is who we're going to, put up on a pedestal. Someone like a labor leader who's done nothing but exploit workers and taken membership dues to blatantly support Democratic candidates for governor over the years. They've done nothing for the labor movement in New Jersey, right? But this is someone I'm supposed to respect. That's a negative. Let's move on here because there's a lot of funny people here. And I got to tell you, as I'm going through this list, folks, there is a long line here of clowns that, quite frankly, have no business being on any ranking other than where they rank in the circus. Here's a good one here, number 19, Brenda Sue Fulton, a former military officer who was among the first cohort of women to graduate from West Point. Congratulations. I don't know. You want a medal? You want a monument erected downtown on State Street in Trenton? I don't know. Brenda Sue Fulton is now the chair and chief administrator, wait for it, of the New Jersey Motor Vehicle Commission, folks, the NBC. Yes, that useless and inept state agency that takes forever to get you your new license or your new vehicle registration. Honey, please do a better job here. But I got to tell you, and of course, Miss Fulton was the first and for a while the only LGBTQ plus 1, 2, 3, yada, 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 cabinet member in the Murphy administration. Do me a favor, please. Make sure that people get their licenses and get their vehicle registrations back on time. I appreciate that there, Sue. Here's another one. Of course, why not waste the opportunity to plug one of your friends, a fellow member of the Lollipop Guild, obviously, who enable you in all your nonsense on social media. Yeah, of course, Maria Rodriguez, right? The director of government affairs at Woke State University over in Montclair. If you don't believe me, just check out Montclair State University's social media. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Yep, you know what? A good advocate for domestic violence and a former legislator many, many moons ago. Obviously, why to be put on the list at this point? Are you really advocating for LGBTQ issues? I don't think so. But again, Jay never misses an opportunity to plug one of his friends on his power list like this is high school during the student council election. Really, Jay? Let's move on here. Oh, there's a good one here. Number 28, Jackie Cornell. All right. The executive director of Planned Parenthood Fund of New Jersey. Yes, that gets taxpayer dollars subsidized to Planned Parenthood. Jackie has put the B in LGBT for as long as anyone can recall. Who cares, Jay? You should be more outraged that we're taking taxpayer dollars to fund organizations like Planned Parenthood. But all right. With red states curbing abortion access at an alarming rate. No, Jay, it's not an alarming rate. It's what states are choosing to do. Again, if you put down the bomb and you maybe picked up a copy of the Bill of Rights, you would know that that's what federalism is. That's what the Supreme Court decided on last year, right? Federalism, right? Federalism, okay? It's a 4-syllable word, just like integrity, 2 words you clearly struggle with. Go back and read up on what federalism is, all right? That's all the Dobbs decision did, is relegate to the states and let the states decide. Again, if you're so concerned about what's going on in Tennessee and Kentucky, take your scrawny ass down there and go live there. Believe me, I think many of us in New Jersey would be really grateful if we didn't have to see your ass anymore, okay? A longtime New Jersey political operative with decades of experience on her side, Ms. Cornell previously served as New Jersey's principal deputy health commissioner. Oh, yeah, the health commissioner, yeah. Probably those that were very eager to vilify those like myself that were unvaccinated or decided to keep the state closed down longer than it should have. Is that the type of deputy health commissioner, Jay, you want to advocate for or glorify? Yeah, not so much. Let's get to really more egregious people here that are kind of just insufferable, I would say. And here we go, number 31, Terrence McDonald. And oh, boy, I'll tell you. An award-winning journalist with a biting prose style, Terrence McDonald is the editor of the New Jersey Monitor, a nonprofit media watchdog and news site. Mr. McDonald has become more opinionated since founding the New Jersey Monitor, and the Garden State is fairer and more ethical because of it. I don't know about fairer. I mean, it's just as woke and left-leaning as any other of the garbage news sites here in the state of New Jersey. And again, for someone like Terrence, bro, listen, I like reading your site once in a while. I like looking at Sophie Nieto Munoz. She's a smoke show. And whenever she's on my screen and you're plugging her in a column, believe me, I love looking at it. But again, folks, this is the same guy who last year wrote on Twitter on August 8th, Twitter is just not a healthy place to be right now. Terrence, bro, I got to tell you, man, toughen up, Buttercup, okay? Because if that's what's going to trigger you and that's what you think is not the healthiest thing to be around, dude, man up here, man. Toughen up because, quite frankly, if this is what triggers you, again, I just can't respect you. But the idea that New Jersey is a fairer and more ethical place because of Terrence McDonald's opinions, that's a stretch, Jay. But again, that's what you love to do on this power list, right? Is embellish and really stretch, I think, to say the very least. Of course, as we all know, folks, Planned Parenthood continues to receive millions of taxpayer dollars every single year from the state budget to advocate. And of course, not just to provide abortion, which is fine. You want to go to a clinic, go get an abortion. But the idea that they'll take funds and then go support candidates, again, based on using your taxpayer dollars, is it something you want to glorify, Jay? Think about that. Again, put down the bong and think about how ethical that is. Not very ethical on behalf of Planned Parenthood. Let's see here. Number 44, Allison Chris Myers, the first and only transgender member of Phil Murphy's cabinet. Allison Chris Myers is the acting chair and CEO of the New Jersey Civil Service Commission. Yes, another really, I think, overly bureaucratic and at times useless state agency that, quite frankly, can't get their website to work, that doesn't help expedite people's pursuit of employment for state jobs. But again, hopefully Allison will maybe make it work better, or at least, guess what? Oh, that's right. Ms. Myers took the lead at NJCSC after a 30-year stint in government, including 21 years at the same commission that she now leads. So pretty much the same ineptitude that we've come to know about the New Jersey, the New Jersey Civil Service Commission. Yeah, so a lot of the ineptitude we've been used to, yeah, she was a part of that. Yeah, no thanks, Jay. I have no desire to glorify someone like that. Let's see here. Oh, yes. Number 50, Aaron Williams, right? Wow. Oh, I mean, if this isn't self-serving, the husband of Christian Friscarino, the executive director of Garden State Quality, being put on the power list. Wow. Aaron Williams is one of New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy's top advisors on veteran issues. Again, God bless him. Serving our country. God bless you, Aaron. A U.S. Marine vet in his own right. Mr. Williams spends his free time growing the game of tennis in underprivileged neighborhoods. Of all the things to help underprivileged kids with, folks, the last thing I would argue is tennis. But again, someone like Jay has that sort of tone deafness. And of course, Jay doesn't waste any time in, of course, advocating for allies that are not LGBTQ, but they're straight but narrow, right? State Senators Andrew Zwicker and Teresa Ruiz, yes, two left-leaning, virtue-signaling, woke legislators, one who's all about, hey, let's have a plastic bag ban, and another one who coddles illegals at every waking moment. Yes, these are people that I would like to put on a pedestal too. Jay, come on, do better here. Let's go for another one here. Oh, yes, of course. Speaking of the lollipop guild that enables Jay Lash, yes, there she is, Miss Photogenic herself, Angelique Malhotra, a board member at NOW and an advisory cabinet member at Emerge New Jersey, another useless organization. Angelique Malhotra has preached the importance of substantive allyship for her entire career. It's fine to slap a rainbow flag on your socials, but what are you doing to protect and to materially improve the lives of LGBTQ people? If you ever meet Angelique Malhotra in person, which I have, believe me, it's nothing to brag about, be ready to answer that question. Yes, folks, the more you avoid Angelique Malhotra and her virtue signaling self, the better. I mean, the woman lives to bitch and moan, and really, I mean, she lives to bitch, and she bitches to live. So, I mean, not someone I really would implore any of you to spend too much time around. Let's move on here on this list here. Let's go to, oh, yeah, here we go. We go to Jen in Rentrout, a candidate for New Jersey Senate and LD 40, Jen Stas as a legendary ally was cemented during the Chris Christie era. It was Miss Enrout's cousin Tyler Clemente of blessed memory, whose bullying induced suicide led to New Jersey's comprehensive anti-bullying legislation to protect all kids. Again, my heart goes out to the Clemente family, but when you look at someone like Jen, that's not exactly a state senate candidate I think that we want to push, especially in a time when we don't need more woke legislators in Trenton. Electing Jen in LD 40, that's not something we should be doing. All right, here's another one here. Number 70, Ryan Jimenez, the longtime doyen of Asbury Park. Ryan Jimenez is the manager of Paradise Nightclub and a prominent fundraiser for equality. Mr. Jimenez is why May 7th is now Drag Queen Visibility Day in New Jersey. Jesus Christ, there's a day for everybody, right? Ryan did not one, but 3 fundraisers this spring to support New Jersey's drag community. With drag performances under attack by right-wingers, that's not true, Jay. What we don't want is kids being exposed to it. That's not the end of the world. Or kids being exposed to basically bare nudity, or grown men with dog masks being led around with dog collars in front of children as young as 2 years old. Now, again, if parents want to be that irresponsible to expose their kids to that, I mean, what can we do? Those are just reckless parents. But the idea that you think it's good to expose kids as young as 3 to drag queens, I'm sorry, that's not healthy, and it's not conducive to a better New Jersey. But again, you take it as being under attack. Ryan Jimenez's strident defense is a stark reminder that drag queens have almost always led the charge for queer liberty, blah, blah. Here's one that really, really, folks, I have to have a laugh here. Corinne Frankfurt, the resident virtue singer, again, another member of the Lollipop Guild that enables Jay Lassiter. Another one putting the B in LGBT since basically forever. Corinne Frankfurt is a one-woman political fundraising juggernaut. Yeah, the B in LGBT. I can think of one B that comes to mind when I think of Corinne Frankfurt. Oh, that's right. It's Boar, because that's what she is. When Ms. Frankfurt demanded an honest and long overdue discussion about sexual harassment culture in New Jersey politics, the world was, for the most part, not ready to hear it. Fast forward the Me Too era, Ms. Frankfurt's words were more prophetic than ever. When she's not dealing with the BS caused by men behaving badly and creating a better climate for those who follow, Ms. Frankfurt is one of the more prodigious political fundraisers in New Jersey and in the region. Folks, when you go to New York and you see what a dump the Port Authority is, or when you see stabbings in the subway, and when you see quality of life deteriorating in New York City, you can thank Corinne Frankfurt. You can thank this halfwit for enabling state Senate candidates in Albany to keep reelecting these legislators that continue to make the state of New York and the city of New York an absolute dump, that enable these far-left prosecutors that are now all of a sudden saying, oh, they don't feel safe in the subway. So when you don't feel safe in the subway, when you don't feel safe walking in Times Square, when you see what a dump New York City's become, look at Corinne Frankfurt, look her up on Twitter, thank this halfwit, because it's women like her that have made New York a cesspool, okay? So this idea about, oh, exposing this, exposing that, folks, what we need to expose is irresponsible women like Corinne Frankfurt, because the reason New York is a dump is because of women like her. And the audacity, Corinne, some months back when I called you out on this, the audacity you had to call me, oh, because you were pregnant. Oh, you felt triggered. I could give 2 drops of piss about your pregnancy. How's that? I'll put that out there. Okay? Now we got to deal with more kids like you, and that's just insufferable. Or the idea of you calling people within Hudson County to say, oh, why is Fernando picking on me? Because you are useless, because you're contributing to the decline of the greatest city in the world. And you have the audacity to call people and say, oh my God, Fernando's picking on me. You're a grown-ass woman in your mid to late 40s. And you're bitching and moaning about this? Go raise your kid, go breastfeed her, and shut the F up, Corinne. God, you useless halfwit that has done nothing but contributed to the decline of New York City. So next time, folks, you think about legislators in Albany and why New York is going down the tubes, you can thank Corinne Frankfurt, because she advocates for those very same legislators that have destroyed New York. And of course, folks, leave it to, you want to talk about someone that never misses the opportunity to brag about himself. Yes, you can look at number 94 there, Jay Lassiter's immune system. Jay Lassiter has been HIV positive for over 31 years. He's literally got STDs older than half the people on this list. Well, I mean, again, Jay, You never pass up the opportunity to put yourself over or to brag about yourself or to sort of inflate your importance. And it's funny when people that you omitted from this list. Why? Because they won't kiss the ring? Because they won't kiss your ass? I mean, believe me, I don't think you want to be kissing anything on Jay Lassiter, but that's a different argument. Maybe people like, I don't know, Jake Hudna, the distinguished prosecutor in Jersey City. Why don't you put him on the power list? A distinguished LGBTQ, right? Municipal prosecutor that, quite frankly, was leading the charge on marijuana, so potheads like you could have at least someone in government advocating or putting some pressure on the attorney general and the governor at the time. Where's Sheikh Hamad on this list, Jay? Oh, why? Because you have the sort of prejudice or bias against Hudson County? Oh, I don't know. Or maybe Lauren Albrecht, the executive director of the New Jersey LGBTQ Dems and their caucus. Now, again, Lauren and I don't agree on anything ideologically or politically, but I can recognize a good human being when I see one. And why won't you put her on the list, Jay? Why? Because she won't kiss the ring? Believe me, folks, I don't think you want to kiss anything on Jay Lassiter. Again, that's a different argument. So whether it comes to putting friends on your power list, like this is a student council election, or the Glee Club, or the Italian club, or the math club in high school, that's pretty much what this power list has been relegated to, as well as all the other useless people I just mentioned, who, for one reason or another, I don't know, very dubious distinctions to be put on this power list for sure. But again, folks, when it comes to power lists that are very dubious and very questionable, you can always rely on Insider NJ. So many thanks to Ryan and Mike Graham, who enabled this nonsense from Jay Lash. Oh, and let's not forget, of course, their editor-in-chief, Max Bizzarro, and their general manager, Peter Elliott, who, again, enabled this nonsense and this virtue signaling, and quite frankly, all of this insufferable content that we see during the month of June. And obviously, when we see this power list, it comes out every July. Folks, believe me, nobody was happier than me to see Pride Month end on June 30th. We could start July. Trust me, no one's happier than me. But of course, when we look at power lists, folks, we look at what this is and we look at pretty much what it is. It's a reach and it's just glorified virtue signaling, courtesy of Insider NJ. And that's our show for this week. Once again, I want to thank our guest tonight, LD31 State Assembly candidate, Lauren Albrecht. Folks, check out her campaign, obviously, as she's looking to win a seat this coming Tuesday, November the 7th, on Election Day for the State Assembly in the 31st Legislative District. Folks, don't forget to check out Jersey First TV on Facebook. Of course, like them on Facebook, of course. Also, make sure you follow them on Instagram and Twitter, as well as yours truly. Also, subscribe to the Jersey First YouTube page. Wherever you get your podcasts this summer, when you're going down the shore, visiting in-laws, whatever it is, do me a favor, folks. Download it from Spotify or SoundCloud and take Jersey First TV with you all summer long. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot say enough about how proud I am to be on the dream team of Garden State Media. Yes, right, folks, it is Jersey First TV. Of course, brand new episodes of The Nader Narrative debut every Thursday night via jerseyfirst.org/TV with the amazing Elizabeth Nader. And, of course, brand new episodes of Bridging the Gap with AJ Malilo and Steven Rimbolo also premiere on Thursday nights. As well, folks, brand new episodes of Real Talk with Fernando Uribe premiere every Monday night at either 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. Again, check your local listings. And, of course, check out the Jersey First social media for approximate start times every Monday night here. Folks, I can't say enough, really, without all of you. The traffic, the great traffic that this show continues to enjoy would not be possible. So, again, I'm deeply humbled. And I'm not the most humble person in the world, but I'm deeply humbled by all of you that continue to make Real Talk with Fernando Uribe an overwhelming success via Jersey First TV. And always remember, ladies and gentlemen, I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, Top 50 Latino via the Latino Spirit online magazine, certainly the weapon of mass disruption in Garden State media, without a doubt, the people's choice and the people's voice, and of course, the most handsome face that runs the place. It's me, Fernando Uribe, saying, folks, enjoy the rest of your week. Please party responsibly, and always remember, if you can be good, be bad, baby. We'll see you next week here on Jersey First TV for the latest edition of Real Talk with Fernando Uribe. Have a great night, everybody.